I think the constitution is just a piece of paper could be thrown in the dustbin.
This is what the powers that be think of the will of 240 million people. A piece of paper to be thrown into the dustbin. The Constitution is what makes you a citizen. It protects your fundamental, inalienable rights as a human being. It is your social contract with the state. Hobbes' metaphorical social contract theory states that human beings stopped living in a state of nature, where everyone is self-interested and chose to submit to an authority based on a social contract with the state. We freely come to an agreement where the state promises to protect our rights in exchange of this free agreement to live by the rules. The Constitution is the embodiment of that idea. Post-partition, much was promised to the princely state in Pakistan. Not a lot came to be. Agreements were reneged on, territory was annexed. In a world like that, many citizens did not feel they freely got to choose the country, leading to feelings of alienation and animosity towards the state. The eastern wing of Pakistan felt marginalized, and after their will was suppressed for 24 years, it eventually led to the separation of the country. The idea that you can rule over a territory militarily in perpetuity does not work. Citizens need to feel like they're part of the country, for them to have a buy-in, a seat at the table, to be free citizens of a country where the state is protecting their rights. The Pakistan narrative has focused heavily on protecting the borders of Pakistan, but it has never insisted equally on protecting the rights of the people within those borders. This is why a large portion of the population feels the relationship with the state is inherently oppressive. Colonial in its makeup, it is extremely extractive in its nature. Citizens are meant to sacrifice everything in the face of national security concerns. If it is imperative that mango farms must be converted into a real estate society for the sake of Pakistan's national security, then the farmers must give up their land for the sake of Pakistan. Over 2 million people in Pakistan work as bonded labor, a shameful form of modern-day slavery. The conditions of those working on farms and factories across Pakistan are often seldom better. The working class of Pakistan is not afforded their basic rights or basic dignity. Their homes, their lands, and even their bodies and their families are stripped off them whenever their owner wants to. And often we find the state standing by the side of the oppressor rather than the oppressed. This is how life in Pakistan has been for millions, for decades. This is why the establishment has never respected the one document that is meant to protect the people against the excesses of the Pakistani financial, bureaucratic, military, and political elite, the Constitution. The 1973 Constitution is remarkable because it was unanimously approved by an elected assembly. Representatives of the people decided how Pakistan would be governed. Leaders from all over Pakistan signed on the document to show their willing participation in the country we call Pakistan. Citizens of Pakistan finally felt like they were citizens. This is why the Constitution has withstood the tests of time and the attacks on it by multiple dictators. The 1973 Constitution isn't perfect, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not a fan of every amendment and every clause in the Constitution. But today's video is on the idea of the Constitution and how we need to teach our children the importance of having one. It's not enough that just a country was formed on 14th August 1947. What people sacrificed for was the idea to live freely with their rights protected. And the document that protects those is the Constitution of Pakistan. Without the Constitution, a state is free to act as it wishes against its citizens, as we see in dictatorships, without any recourse available for the citizens for relief. As checkered as the history of our courts has been, at least that recourse is available to every Pakistani, at least in theory. At least there is a constitution we can turn to. The mistake we've made, the Pakistan that we have lost, is that we've not taught people the importance of a constitution. Throughout the entire series of Pakistan Lost, we focused on many moments throughout our history where we have zigged when we could have zagged. And that has made all the difference. We lost the Pakistan that could have been due to mistakes that were made in the moment. But if there is one problem that has been consistent throughout, that has been the military interference in the political sphere to derail democracy, causing political instability. It has been the fundamental problem that has stopped Pakistan from progressing. They own the history, they own the media, they control the narratives. So generations have grown up thinking military dictatorships have been better than democracy. They've grown up hating Pakistanis so much that even celebrities like Behrouz Sabzwari were caught saying things like the people of Pakistan deserve a stick full of nails up their backside. This is a feeling common amongst the politically unaware elite of Pakistan. They want all the freedoms for themselves, but they want dictatorships in Pakistan. Dictatorships that protect their elite interests. Dictators that put a stick full of nails up the backside of the poor masses. That is their vision for Pakistan. And that is the narrative we need to change. And the moment that I feel we lost a different narrative was on October 7th, 1958. When the first constitution of Pakistan was abrogated and martial law was declared in Pakistan. 20 days later, General Ayub Khan disposed of Iskandar Mirza and ruled over Pakistan for the next 11 years. If we look across the border, one of the main reasons India has progressed, whereas we have not, is because the Indian military has stayed in their barracks and has not repeatedly imposed martial law in the country. Pakistan, on the other hand, has never achieved any stability. Anytime democracy starts finding its feet, the entire system is dissolved again, and we face another dictatorship. Elections were scheduled for 1959 in Pakistan, but after martial law was imposed, Pakistan did not see elections for another decade. And when Pakistan's first general election did happen in 1970, the establishment went to war rather than respecting the mandate of the people. If the constitution of Pakistan was upheld and elections were held in 1949, Pakistan might have been a different country. Instead, to gain power, Ayub Khan declared the founders of Pakistan corrupt, traitors, and banned politics and politicians altogether. State-sanctioned history books in Pakistan lie that the first constitution of Pakistan was never in place. It was the law of the land, before Ayub Khan's martial law, before Iskandar Mirza abrogated the constitution. We bemoan the lack of a political class, but we do not delve through our history to see how politicians were banned, arrested, and murdered to ensure the death of politics. We do not talk about how unions and student organizations were banned, hunted down, and their leaders tortured to stop new political leaders from emerging. Military dictators have needed justifications to defend their dictatorships, so they've labeled all politicians as being the worst thing about Pakistan. The unintended consequence of which is that corruption has become endemic in Pakistan. A, because the politicians the dictators bring in are naturally compromised and corrupt. B, people assume everyone is corrupt, so they engage in corruption themselves. Pakistan's tax collection is also incredibly low, a part of which is that people think corrupt politicians will steal their money so they don't pay their taxes, without realizing that what they're doing is also corruption. They're stealing money. Ayub Khan's thirst for power sent Pakistan down a path that we're still to recover from, but there's still time to course correct. There is still time for institutions to realize that the best way forward is for everyone to stay within their constitutionally prescribed limits, to stop experiments like the hybrid regimes, to let democracy flourish, to let the courts be independent. Pakistan has been attacked, maimed, destroyed, and tampered with for 76 years, but we have still not lost Pakistan. We still have hope for a better country. The problem is the oppression of the last 76 years has made people impatient, but there are no overnight fixes, there are no ready-made solutions, and there are no messiahs coming. What needs to happen is a slow evolution, to go back to the basic democratic principles and protect basic human rights, to reinforce the social contract that binds us all to Pakistan, to ensure every citizen of Pakistan feels like they have just as much stake in the country as an elite real estate owner. You've tried ruling with that stick. It's time to put that down and maybe pick up a pen instead. The people are ready to write their own future and make their own destiny. All you need to do is step aside and let them. There is a solution to Pakistan, and that solution rests in the will of 240 million people. Stop thinking you know better than them, and stop thinking their will is just a piece of paper to be thrown into the dustbin by you. The Pakistani establishment and the Pakistani elite still haven't realized Habib Jalib was being satirical when he said, "ये जो 10 करोड़ हैं, जहल का निचोड़ है." पाकिस्तानी जाहिल नहीं है, उनको जाहिल रखा गया है. फिर भी वो आप जितने जाहिल नहीं हैं, जिनको लगता है वो इतने अक्ले कुल हैं, और बाकी पाकिस्तानी इतने भी इंसान नहीं कि उनको जीने का, वोट देने का, लाइफ, लिबर्टी, स्पीच, मूवमेंट, एजुकेशन का हक नहीं है. और अगर आपको लगता है कि उनको ये हक नहीं होना चाहिए, तो वो जो कीलों वाला डंडा आपने पाकिस्तानी कौम के लिए रखा था, शायद खुद जाके उस पर बैठ जाए. पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद.